Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome Mr. Stuart Fitter.
Can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. Good. Great. This guy thought you were clapping for him. You will be, but hopefully not too loud. Not at first. All right. So does everybody here like thoroughbreds? All right. All right. I won't ask any more questions like that. Not until I get on. Okay, we got 3 real nice ones here. You know what, guys? We already got poles out here, it turns out. They're right along the rail. So we can use those. All right. We started this little organization called the Retired Racehorse Training Project to convince all y'all to go out and get thoroughbreds if you can ride well enough to ride them. And if you can't, you should go learn to ride better so you can, right? And there's been a little bit of an issue in the industry where there are a lot of breeds of horses, warm bloods, Irish horses, crosses of all different kinds, taking the place where thoroughbreds used to rule. Some of us believe thoroughbreds still do rule, that there's no kind of horse that's better for sport than a thoroughbred. And I believe that there's no, well, that what horses do at the racetrack is actually very good preparation for what we do when we ride over jumps, dressage, fox hunting, trail riding, polo, western, all kinds of things. Because they have a really good foundation of being handled every single day, having a good work ethic, and they're magnificent horses. So they've been at about 6 weeks right now. None of them had any training other than racing before this, and their backgrounds are varied, and I'll tell you about them in a minute. But the 100 days, the purpose of it is to show, not only demonstrate how these horses are trained all at one facility by the same people, so you get to see the different types of horses. That not all horses coming off the racetrack are the same. They all have different issues and they all have different personalities. So you can watch these training videos and see how it's being done. You can read the training reports, and you can talk to each other online and comment on Facebook about what's going on as you watch it all. You can watch them today, and then you can come back to the Pennsylvania Expo and watch them in 5 weeks from now. But what we did was we went to some of the major mid-Atlantic thoroughbred farms, Maryland and Pennsylvania. And we said, would you guys like to help us show the public what wonderful sport horses you're breeding in your racing programs? And we got a lot of response, and we got some very nice horses. And I'll tell you about them. Starting with the bay at the far end of the ring. Katie is riding Swab Jazz, who's representing Walnut Green Farm in Pennsylvania. And Mark Reed, who runs Walnut Green, really wanted to have a horse for this. So he got in touch with some of his partners, one of whom was Tony Dutro, who's a very successful trainer. And Tony and his wife, Kim, had this horse and run him for years and won $650,000. The horse has won $650,000 in 70 races. He's coming 10 years old. And when the horse was claimed off of them, they told the folks who had him to give him a call when he was done. And sure enough, in August, he ran his last race up at Finger Lakes, running cheap, $4,000 claimer, and said he's done, so they went and picked him up. And here he is. So you would think a horse that's run 70 races and is 9 years old at that point, 10 years old now, is a bit washed up. But you'll see with that horse, he's got perfectly clean legs, and he's got the best brain of anything you've ever sat on. Took him fox hunting 3 weeks after we started the training, taking him out again on Wednesday. He's doing all kinds of stuff. So that's Swab Jazz. Over here we have Alluring Punch. And Valerie Shepard is riding him. She's helping out, lives in Maine, helping out on the farm. And Alluring Punch represents Northview Stallion Station because Northview Stallion Station stood his father. His father's name is Two Punch. And Two Punch died in 2011 at the age of 28. And he had a huge impact on racing industry with his offspring, but he also produced some magnificent, magnificent sport horses. And we wanted to honor Two Punch. And a woman named Barbara Ryan approached us, who's in here somewhere, because her parents bred Two Punch for one, and she bred this horse, Alluring Punch. So she thought he was a nice prospect. He'd run 10 times. Her brother trained him. He won once. He never ran for a whole lot of money. He had a little trouble staying in a straight line, it seems. The one race he did win, he went so wide on the final turn, everybody almost caught up with him. But he managed to pull it out again. He's got an incredible stride. Anybody who was here yesterday and watched that horse free jump was awed by it.
Holy moly, look at that! Woo! This is his third time doing this in his life.
This guy, Declan's Moon, is a little hotter than the others, but he's not bad. Not yet. All right, buddy. One thing about getting on the thoroughbreds, or any horse that's hot and really feels like he needs to move his body, is you're much better off letting him move his body, letting him go forward in whatever gait he's most comfortable in, than forcing him to stand still. And often that'll settle their mind when they get a little bit of rhythm. Anyway, so Alluring Punch over there. Yeah, you're going to have some fun, aren't you? Is only coming 4. He's the youngest of the 3 by far. And you'll see what he's got in a minute going for him. And then the one that I'm sitting on's name is Declan's Moon. And if you haven't heard of him, you don't watch horse racing very closely. He's by Malibu Moon, who I understand was announced today in the Thoroughbred Daily News, has taken the #1 spot as a sire in the world, producing lots and lots of great stakes winners. But this was his superstar. This horse, Declan's Moon, is 10 years old. No, 11 years old in thoroughbred years, as of January 1st. So he's 11 years old, but as a 2-year-old, nobody beat him. He was undefeated. And he was the Eclipse Award winner, best horse of his year. And then as a 3-year-old, of course, everybody was looking at him as a possible Triple Crown contender. He won his first race, so he was still undefeated. But he needed surgery on his knee right at the wrong time, and he didn't get to run in the Derby. He'd already beat the horse that won the Derby. So, of course, he would have won the Derby, right? Unfortunately for his owner, Samantha Siegel, JMS Racing, out in California, he was a gelding. So he did not go to Kentucky and breed mares. Instead, he had his surgery. He went back to racing. Never was quite as good. His breathing didn't seem to be 100%. They say that happens sometimes with the tube they put down them in surgery. Messes up their airways a little bit. For whatever reason, he decided he was not going to be the superstar he had been. So Samantha contacted Josh and Mike Pons, the Pons family here in Maryland, because this horse is a Maryland bred. And the Pons family's Country Life Farm in Maryland Farm really made Malibu Moon, the sire, what he is. He started here, and then he went to Kentucky. When he became successful, yeehaw! And so they thought it would be kind of neat to have an Eclipse Award winner living on their farm. And so there he sat in a big, big field with 2 other Malibu Moon superstars who were retired. You guys might want to move to the middle. I'm a little afraid as we go around that rail, somebody might get playful with their hind legs. So So 4.5 years Declan's Moon stood, well, he didn't stand, he probably played around a whole lot in that field. And then I was talking to Josh Ponza about this 100-day challenge thing at the Maryland Million, and he got a little twinkle in his eye and said, we got one for you. Said, this thing moves like a dressage horse, not doing anything, and he's pretty darn famous. So I went to look at him. We couldn't catch him. He trotted circles around us like he was doing a fancy dressage test, and then he ran to the top of the hill and he struck a pose and said, dude, if you can ride me, you can have me. So here we are, riding Declan's Moon, 6 weeks into his training. And I will say that he's not for sale, sorry. But he might continue in his new career, we hope. And it wouldn't bother me if he stayed with us. So don't get too greedy about trying to get your hands on this one, please. And the reason that we're just trotting and trotting and trotting and trotting, all of us, is because we're letting our horses get used to y'all and get settled and find a rhythm and get happy. There's one horse I haven't mentioned, and her name is Gunport. And she represents Sagamore Racing, owned by Kevin Plank of Under Armour, the farm where Native Dancer was, the Vanderbilt property. And Kevin Plank has revitalized that operation and is breeding and producing some top-class racehorses. And they bred one named Gunport, and they ran her once, and she came in 11th out of 11. And they said, yeah, it's not worth the effort to try to convince this horse that she wants to be a racehorse, because she didn't want to be a racehorse. So she's been in training also for 6 weeks. And she's actually the most popular, if you look at all the YouTube hits, of the four, because she's so pretty and very fancy and a real hard worker who started out very scared and has turned very brave. But unfortunately, she got in a little argument with her pasture mate and got kicked in the hock and had to stay home. We're hoping she'll be back in work on Monday. Okay. Why don't you two walk? If your horses seem like they're happy enough staying in the middle of the ring. And I'm going to play with this one first, because I'm not sure he is happy staying in the middle of the ring. So, as I said, they're all horses off the track, different lengths of career, different ages, different turnout times since they raced, and very, very, very different personalities and different bodies. So this one, you haven't seen anything yet. All you've seen him do is kind of jigging around. You'll notice that this horse actually, when he really trots forward in a minute, probably after we canter and maybe buck, has got incredible movement. You know, in the sport horse world, especially for dressage, but also the hunters and eventing for sure, we look for horses that really can swing their limbs, stay loose in their back, and have power and balance, where they're not leaning on their forehand. And this guy, in my mind, is the epitome of what the thoroughbred industry can breed. And you think, you know, some people say, well, a great racehorse is not a great dressage prospect. Well, this is the greatest racehorse of his year, and he is a great dressage prospect. So, bite your tongue. We're going to let him canter on a little bit. He's been very interesting, though, to work with, because he's not all that forward. I've actually had to push him a lot, and I might need my whip in a minute. It's about getting him to focus on and be a little submissive. He's very stallion-like for a gelding, but look at this canter. The boy. Get it in a minute here. And then look at this trot. You'll see in a second. He's going to show you in a minute some fancy trot work. Okay, but let's canter first. I don't care. We'll go on the wrong lead. And then we'll switch it. And it's been a little like this every day, where it takes him a little bit of time to decide. I'm not really insulting him when I squeeze my legs. I'm inviting him to have a little bit of fun instead. And he's getting that. Good boy. And you know, they all have a tendency to fall in on the turn or drift out on the turn. And you know, racehorses have these guys with super short stirrups, and they don't really steer with their legs because they can't. So it's a bit of a surprise, and the horse doesn't really understand. When you start using a lot of leg, and then you sit down on their back like this, which I've just started to do with him. Good boy. Good boy. And then I start to feel like, holy moly, I got me a nice horse. And you know, this canter, these turns for him are nothing. He's being a little resistant on the inside rein and leg. And I'm trying to be tactful about establishing a boundary with my inside leg and my inside rein. And he's gradually learning to accept the boundary. And what I found with him, and any of them really, is that when they do accept any kind of a boundary, I'm coming behind you there, Kirsten. Any kind of a boundary, they almost thank you for it and settle. It's when there are no boundaries that they get scared, and then they feel like they have to make their own decisions. So this direction, he falls into my right leg, even worse than my left, which is why I canter to the left first. Well, let's see what the trot feels like now. You'll also notice that I'm a sissy, and I have two fingers under this yoke, the strap around his neck, just in case he makes a move that my upper body can't follow. I've got a little some help there. Good boy. Racehorses are almost always galloped in a yoke. And we use them training all the time. Okay, buddy, you can get around this turn. Good boy. But when he gets the right lead, go, go, go. Can I borrow that stick? Huh? I started carrying with him a dressage whip about a week ago. And the reason was these two women are carrying just basic jumping props that are shorter. But this horse actually needs a lot of push to keep him on task. And if I just kick and kick and kick, like any horse, he'll start to ignore it. He'll hold his breath, he'll lock his whole body up. But if I just tap him a little bit behind my leg, it seems to have a little bit more clear message to him every once in a while. And the longer stick, the dressage whip, you can do that without taking your hand off the rein. So that's why I've got this here. Careful with the feet, girls. All right. We're going to do one more canter to the right. Let's get... Attaboy. Good boy. Attaboy. Good boy. Good boy. And yeah, he's fallen in with his shoulder to the right. I'd love it if he didn't, but one thing at a time, you know? At least we're cantering. Good boy. And we're staying on the track that we're choosing. My inside leg is right there, keeping him from dying on me. But the quality of that canter, any of y'all who do jumpers or dressage know, or eventing know, that's balance. You know, this horse is not leaning on his forehand at all. So now, see if I can get him to enjoy himself, cover some ground at the trot. He's being awfully good about you people on the edge. I think. I'm going to cut across the diagonal. Come on, buddy. He likes watching you guys move away from him. It's like, oh yeah, we know who's in charge. Okay. Can we have some fun, bud? I'm going to let him get a little strung out here just to encourage him to show off a little bit. Come on, buddy. I'm tempted to get off and chase him around because he could put on a hell of a show. So now we're floating along kind of nice and just showing some of that natural ability that he's got to swing and be loose in his limbs and loose in his back. And it's going to be even better when he lets me put his body parts in the right place for him, which is starting to happen. But he feels like a trampoline, you know, a soft trampoline. Every step he takes, he just softly touches the ground. You never hear him coming. Atta boy. Okay, I could just go on like this for the rest of the session, trotting and trotting on this horse, in the groove of it, but you're not the only one here, Declan. All right, give him a little applause, and I'm going to hang on to the strap. Atta boy. You better get used to it, dude. All right. Okay. So we're going to jump in a minute, but I'm going to walk and let these guys show off because they're good too. You know, Declan here is just special, that's all. I think I like him because I'm slightly afraid of him because he's always had this, you know, unlike these other two that are almost boring, they're so good, you know. You don't think of horses off the track as being boring, but okay, you're going to go, Katie? Yeah, you go, Katie. This one you could put your grandmother on and go for a trail ride. Not that grandmothers aren't good riders, but you know what I mean, right? So that one is, huh? You want to get on? So this horse, you know, this one I'm sitting on is a little fresh. And part of the reason is because he sat in a field for 4.5 years and was not in a routine, you know? They get a little bit wild when there's no structure in their lives. And then you try to put it up, give it to them all of a sudden. So we can forgive him of that, and we know it's going to get better. But he's also the kind of, I don't know what it takes to make a great racehorse, what kind of a personality, but, you know, I like to fantasize about whether I do know. And, you know, watch this horse and think, yeah, I know this horse is so smart, and he's got such a spark. That's why he won those races. In fact, I think he made his own strategy. I think he probably checked out every horse in the race before they started, figured out how he was going to taunt them. But Suave Jazz back here was pretty good at the same thing. And if you watch some of his tapes on video, Sarah Andrews with a camera here from Thoroughbred Daily News keeps sending me these links to these tapes that you can watch of these horses racing, and it's a blast. And the last one I watched of Suave Jazz, it was a $50,000 race at Laurel. And the guy was in the back, following everybody along. And then he tried to make a move on the inside, and he got blocked. He couldn't do that. And he just made a hole. I mean, he just busted through two horses and just went out in front and won by 2 or 3 lengths like he knew exactly what he was doing, and he wanted to do it. And what we've found with him is that, you know, it took about 1 day to teach that horse to respect the aids, to get a good connection in the bridle, and to listen to the leg. And part of the reason is he's just got a fantastic temperament, you know? I mean, Bruce Davison, the world champion, 2-time rider, always says that the horse with the best temperament of any breed is a thoroughbred, you know, undisputable. And it's got to do with the flight instinct and the intelligence that goes along with what they breed. And this horse sort of epitomizes that for me. He's so focused and so eager to please. It's like every night he studies his lesson from the day before, and he comes out better the next day. And when we first cantered him, he felt not so good. And she's going the tough direction here for that horse. And if you watch him, when he first cantered in the first week or two, he was very much on his forehand, even though that's not his natural way to go. You know, when you watch him go free, he's very high in front. But he would lean, because that's what he got taught at the racetrack. That's what they all got. They put more weight in the bridle when they go faster. And the jockeys got their hands right down there with a bridge on the neck, supporting the horse as it runs. And so they're used to that feel. And you put them in a little ring like this, and they start to lean down into the bit when they canter, and you feel like you're getting run away with. You're really just not in balance. And this horse took some strength at that point. You know, we had to set our hand right there at the base of the neck with short reins and let the horse lean into that a little bit when it cantered, but at the same time, let them get comfortable cantering in the small space. You can go ahead the other. Have you cantered both ways? Okay, canter the other way. Let them get comfortable in the small space. Put the pressure on where you need it to help them get around those turns. And with him, his canter has evolved almost to the point where you could canter a course of jumps. I mean, that to me is the test, is if you've got a canter where the horse is carrying himself, not leaning on you, listening to your legs enough that you can canter down to a jump and adjust his stride to a perfect takeoff spot. He ain't there yet. We're trotting the jumps now instead of cantering them usually for that reason. But look at the way he moves for a horse who ran 70 races and retired in the middle of his 9-year-old year. And won 17 of those races. This horse came off the track healthy, you know, through his body. So don't assume that a horse that runs a lot is less good. In fact, some of them are better. And some of them need a little bit of time to change the way their muscles work. And this horse, I have a feeling, is going to, like, within the next 2 years, he's going to evolve if he's in the right hands, so that things are going to get looser and looser and looser in his back and his top line, and he's going to knock your socks off, and he's going to move more like this horse does. But he's got a sharpness to him. He's a little, you know, quick with his front legs. You'll see that when he jumps, very tight with his knees, and that's just a quality that he has. So, yeah, go ahead and do one more canter. Oop. And you go ahead and get ready, Valerie, with the luring punch. Where are you going? All right. And, you know, the speed with which these guys learn all this stuff has a whole lot to do with the skills of the rider, which doesn't mean that you have to be a wonderful rider. I mean, the better you are, the quicker it is, the faster they learn, and the more successful, which is why we all need to get to be better riders. But this horse could be with somebody who never put the aids on the way Katie's doing it and just bopped around the trails for the rest of his life, and he'd also be happy. And they would too. Good, let him walk. But since, you know, we like to get the most out of them and see what they can do. And so that's what we're trying to do in 100 days. Last year, some of you were probably here when we did a trainer challenge where we had 3 trainers who got 4 horses actually between them and rode them here at the Maryland Expo for the very first time off the track. And it was pretty unbelievable that these 3 young horses who had no training, these guys have had 6 weeks, got into this arena with this crowd and walked, trotted, and cantered both ways, correct leads, you know, I mean, they were rideable. And then 6 weeks later, they were all jumping and doing quite good stuff. I don't know if we're going to be that good. Okay, so here we got a luring punch. He's much younger, which is one reason why he's not as focused, maybe. You know, young horses that have not raced when they're his age, 4 years old, just, you know, not even 4 yet, almost 4 in real years, are not very focused. And it's hard to get them to go in a straight line. It's hard to really feel like they're going forward at all. And a lot of times it's hard to make them go forward. They just, you know, they're getting used to the balance of the rider, and they're not yet athletes. They're just sort of big, teenage, lanky, gangly things. And this guy did race. And so what you get is a boost, really. You get a lot of free training. And if he hadn't raced, he would not be as far along in his 6 weeks. But he's been through a period where in the beginning, he really was sort of pulling hard and hard to keep in a straight line and, difficult to focus. And you had to make him go where you want him to go. I mean, you can't be unsafe. So we had to be fairly strong in response, set the hand, use the legs. And I think he got a little bit PO'd about it. And he started to suck back and curl behind the vertical. Some of you have had horses do that. A lot of X-race horses that are used to pulling, they're trying to get a new relationship with the bit. And sometimes they actually get behind the bit. And he did that. So we had to make it fun for him again and send him forward. Trail riding helped. Actually, all three of these horses have been out on the trails quite a bit, and it's helped them so that the work isn't so intense. But now he's giving her a connection more or less about half the time. And every time his head goes up, or he looks the wrong way, or he bulges his body sideways, Valerie's working with her legs to try to fix it. Actually, she asked me before she got on if she should put spurs on, and it was sort of 50-50. She didn't do it because they were dirty, and she didn't want to have to clean them. But she could just as easily have spurs on, and it would help. As long as she's very tactful about how to use them, because she wants to have a very precise, right here, inside leg. She would love for him to stop looking to the outside and have a nice little inside bend, and then he'd feel good in the bridle and be better balanced all around. And so a more precise aid on the inside leg would help her, but I hope she's working as hard as she can. Okay, have you cantered? You haven't cantered yet. Let's see this horse's incredible canter. If you look at this horse's conformation, he's beautifully built to coil his hind end and spring. He's got a sloping croup. And he's also not downhill. He's got nice high withers, which I like. And his neck is set fairly high up on his shoulder, which we all like if their job is to lift themselves up off the ground. But now look at this canter. It just feels like it just looks like he could go all day long. He's more relaxed cantering right in here now than he was when he was trotting. He was sort of fighting her a little bit when he trotted. But he's found a natural balance in his canter in this little space that just allows him to chill out. So that's one reason it's good to be a half-decent rider when you're training these guys, because if you're scared to canter that horse and you lean back and you pull and you sit way back, he's going to stick his head up in the air, drop his back, put his ears back, and just get pissed, and he's going to try to figure out something to do. But he's so comfortable right now that he's not being very resistant, so he's learning stuff. And this is one of the reasons why I like to follow the thoroughbred bloodlines and see who's producing nice sport horses. Two Punch produces nice sport horses, and this horse was born with his conformation and his ability to canter like that. We're helping him, but he was born with it. And all thoroughbreds can canter, but some have a more balanced canter than others, and they have different ways of galloping. Some more with their head down, some more with their head up. Some with a lot of knee action, some with less. But this guy floats across the ground. It's all right, nice little flying changes there. And yesterday we set up the free jumps in a chute in the other building. And he, I don't know, we maybe went 3-3, maybe it was 3-6, with an X, one stride to a little ascending oxer. And he just, every single time he jumped it, it was perfect. Like he was born to do that. And he loved doing it. I mean, you had to stop him from going in the chute. Go around and around all day long. That's okay. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. How you doing? You all right? You sure? Shake it off. You sure you're okay? Okay. All right. Get the dirt off you. Start over. So it's good when your steering is good, because if you hit and knock over a jump standard with a bunch of flowers on it on a young horse, he's going to spook and you might fall off. Luckily, Valerie is young and strong. Hopefully she's okay. Sometimes when you fall off, you don't notice that it hurts until later. Hopefully she'll tell us. Okay. So that wasn't supposed to happen. That was not planned. But neither was Michelle breaking her foot or Gunport getting hurt. Or this horse falling out of the trailer on his way out, and all the other things that happen when you're with horses. But he doesn't care. He's ready for more. Let's go ahead and set up an X here and an X over there, okay? Here's what I want you guys to do. All three of us are going to do this. We're going to walk our horses up to these silly little jumps in a straight line, stand there and give them a pat. And the reason we're doing that is we're kind of taking it as though we were doing this the first time maybe, but it's really important for horses not to learn to run out. And if they're scared of what they're jumping, then there's two things. Oh, you're ready to jump it, aren't you, booger? Not yet. Okay, Declan. Especially that horse, Alluring Punch, you know, he doesn't steer so well anyway. So you don't want to have to deal with a steering issue and a fear of a jump issue and learning how to jump all at the same time, because you're going to end up with failure. So we just set them up to succeed. Declan's getting bored here. Can you get him all the way up to that? Especially since he ran into the thing and knocked it over. It's probably even more scary. Yeah, walk him up there. He's cool. Now, if he does stop at the jump, we really know it's Valerie's fault, because when he free jumped, nothing was going to make him stop. And he probably won't stop, but he could run out. He could decide that he has another idea about what direction to go. You want to go ahead and trot over one, Valerie? Why don't you wait just a minute, Kate, in the middle. So we always start them out trotting over jumps. You know, these are thoroughbreds who know how to go out of a start gate like a bullet. And it doesn't take long. That's okay, good. Come right around again. Do it again. It doesn't take long for them to learn to jump like they're going out of start gate. And we don't want that, because that's jumping flat. Unless they're going to, you know, go win steeplechase races. But even those horses need to learn how to jump around a jump instead of across a jump. Good. And why don't you change direction and jump the other one the other way? I've got so many people in here. Actually, maybe if a couple of you left, it'd be better. You guys decide. The photographer's allowed to stay, of course. Okay. Good. Okay, that was nothing to it for him. Let me go next. My horse doesn't want to stand, and yours does. And I'm in charge, so I get to do it. All right, let me get him going again. Declan has been interesting jumping. He's very unpredictable. Sometimes he'll over jump, and other times he'll just sort of step over it. Like, what's the point of this? And all I really care is that he go between the standards one way or another. And at home, we've just gotten to the point where he's starting to canter jumps. And with the quality of his canter, that's kind of cool. Okay, I want to let him canter because he's not warmed up anymore. You're a good boy, Declan. All right, to heck with that. Let's just jump. Good boy. Good boy. All right, nothing to that. Would you like to canter again? Sir? That's a boy. He likes to be called sir, I guess. All right. A good boy. And around to the other one, which we didn't actually show to him, but it's okay. A boy. Okay, nothing to that. And now it's Katie's turn. Okay. So, you know, teaching them to jump is really the easiest part of the training, I think, because it's so natural for them. I'll get anyway. Go ahead, whenever you're ready. Because it's so natural for them. It's just important that they have good experiences and that you start out small and you build it up. Good boy. See how easy it is for that horse to lift his knees up. Let's do that again. Then you can change direction, do the other. And we're going to probably want one more rail to go. Good, okay. If we can make that a little ascending oxer going the same direction. Good, and make that a little vertical, Chantal, right there, by getting a third rail as a ground line on each side. Yeah. So the horse, it still looks like they're jumping the X. There just happens to be a little something beyond it. And yeah, that one, so we can jump it both ways. Good. So you get to go first, Miss Valerie. Okay, why don't you come jump this one, Valerie, while they're working on that one. Either direction you want. So we're hoping, and we don't really, there's no way where we can say where a horse is going to be in 6 weeks, 10 weeks, however many weeks. We can sort of set goals, but good. He was very careful there. He sort of didn't know whether to put his feet down one more time before he jumped, and he just paused and hovered and then pushed, because he's a great athlete and he's capable of that, rocking back and pushing. So we don't know where they're going to be. Good. And make a circle and then jump the other. We know that this horse, I have an excuse if my horse isn't as good, which is that he missed a week early on because he had a bruise on his foot. And Gunport has now missed 2 weeks, but she was kind of ahead of the others on the jumping. Good. Do that one again. She was already out in the field jumping logs and things. And you can come over to our booth and see some pictures of that our super duper photographer Sarah Andrews over there took. Good. There, you got a little bit of push there on that one. That was good. Okay, why don't you go next? I may lower it for this guy. We'll see. I haven't jumped in this high under saddle yet. I mean, he did jump 4 feet free jumping, but that was without me. So little chestnut horse over here is happy. He's chewing on the bed. He kind of feels like he did what he's good at. And that was pretty. Why don't you make your circle on the other side of the jumps and then come back to this. So if this part is boring to you guys, this is good, because we want this part to be a little bit boring for the horses. Yeah. You think it's your turn, do you? Okay, we'll let you have your turn. Good. So he was landing on the wrong lead, but that's not our issue right now either. Let him walk. Good. So, Declan. Can you go down that 1, 2 holes, the oxer? Okay, you get to do it again. But we would hope that by the time we come to the Pennsylvania Expo, we could set up a little course and canter some of it, 2.5 feet or so, but we don't really know. Mostly depends on how their flat work comes along. Okay, we're going to canter it. Go, sir. That works. Good. Attaboy. And you can see I'm using my yoke because one day he really overjumped and it surprised me. Okay, no yoke this time, buddy. Good boy. So I saw him look to the right just before that one, and I caught him with the left rein to straighten him. And I got that part done. I got him over the jump, but that meant he wasn't really focusing, was he? So we'll do that again. Good boy. All right. That's good. No? Okay, stand somewhere else. Good boy. All righty. That was the best yet, because he lowered his head right before he jumped. Okay. Attaboy. Okay, we got to do this again. Got to let the photographer take a picture of it. You want to try that from the canter, Declan? Okay, so I had a choice to make there. I was either going to hold for the stride or push for the long one, and I didn't want to hold, and I knew he wasn't going to go if I pushed, so I just sort of sat there and let him make a mistake. That's better. Let's do it at the canter. Come on, Mamba. It's hard to keep the canter going when they're looking up at the jump. There we go. All righty. Okay, give him that grand finale trot, Declan. Show him what Thoroughbreds can do. That's all right. Okay. All right. So, if you think we're not having fun doing this stuff, you're wrong. Because this has been like having 4 incredible horses that know almost nothing except running is so much fun. Because they're all so different. You know, every day you have to figure out what they're going to do, how they're going to work through their little issue, and they've been great. So what you all should do is you're going to get to vote on who you think is the best horse for certain sports or certain qualities. And we're going to put up on the internet a poll that you guys get to vote. And we're going to have categories. Probably every horse will win a category because we don't want to have any losers because they're all so great. But we're going to put it up for you guys to vote. And then at the Pennsylvania Expo, we're going to have some judges as well who are going to have more votes than you and really evaluate these horses' potential for people to better understand what qualities the Thoroughbreds are offering. And there are no two alike, but as you can see from these guys. So come on over to our booth. And also, if you have a Thoroughbred that you ride that raced, please go to our website and enter your horse in a thing called the Bloodline Brag, where we ask you to put in your horse's sire and dam, and we'll link the rest of the pedigree, and then you put in what your horse has done since it raced, so people can evaluate these horses by bloodline. So if you see a horse by Two Punch, you click in there, and you look at all the Two Punch and what they're doing in the sport horse world, and that's great information. It takes a little bit of time for you to do, but we really want you to do it. And definitely go to our Facebook page, because that's where all the news is about what all these guys are up to. And then after this 100-day challenge is up, we're going to be doing some more stuff that we're not allowed to announce yet that's even more exciting next year that you guys, if you're good, you'll have a chance to participate in. Hint, hint. So, thanks for coming.